Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of CloudDeepDive. In today's video, we will talk about a new feature launched by Amazon, which is Amazon S3 multi-region access points. So in this video, we'll talk about this particular new feature and I'll give you a demo as well. So please watch this video till the end and you will understand that how this works and how you can set it up in your console as well. So let's get started. So like any other video, we'll first let's try to understand what kind of problems we were having earlier and how this access points, multi-region access point will help you to solve those challenges. As you all know that when you create S3 bucket, you create that S3 bucket in a particular region and that bucket can be accessed from anywhere around the world. Uh, Suppose in this case, like I created the bucket in US region, but the same bucket can be accessed from US region or from Europe or from India region or maybe anywhere around the world. So what problems happen? Like in the S3 bucket, you can do two kind of operation. One is like mainly like you will read it, you will write something to it. And both of them, if you are reading objects from that bucket from a location which is farthest away from the bucket, like you have bucket in US and you're reading it from India region, then obviously there will be some latency because um, the call will go through multiple ISP hops and then it will reach to the US region and then the data will be sent back to the in India region. So the read latency will be there, network latency will be there for a read, and similarly for the write or any other operations you are doing with that bucket. So the read part can be solved by using the CloudFront because you have many edge locations around the world for the CloudFront, and your data will be cached to the nearest edge location. And the user who is connecting, suppose this user in Europe is trying to connect to the bucket, so the data will be cached to the edge location, and then next time the data will be delivered from that edge location instead of going or sending call back to the bucket. So the read problem can be solved by using the edge locations. What about the write? Because write will always go to your main bucket. What companies did to solve this kind of challenge is like they created multiple buckets in each region and they set up a replication rules around it so that users sitting in a particular region will connect to the nearest bucket, upload the data there or read the data from there, and then the data will be replicated to all other buckets so that everyone has the latest copy. But the challenge with this particular approach is um, they have to kind of like put in their application that okay, you have to a user from this particular region or application running in this region will always has to connect with this particular bucket with this region bucket. And the one of the problem can happen that what if the region goes down, then you should have a backup plan for that or fallback mechanism for that. And you have to have a hardcode logic in your application as well that this is the particular bucket which you need to connect it. So S3 multi-region access point helps you to solve those kind of challenge. The way it works that you will get single entry point for your S3 bucket. So you will have the buckets in the different regions, but you don't need to specify in your application that I want to connect to buckets sitting in India region or Europe region or US region or China region. You will get one access point. You will connect to that access point, and that access point behind the scene will find it out that which region bucket will be beneficial for you or will have the lowest latency, and it will connect to that particular S3 bucket. So you don't need to make that decision that which region bucket you need to connect. Is multi-region access point will do all the homework or all the work behind the scene and will connect you with that particular region bucket. So like in this snapshot I'm showing you, I got it from AWS multi-region access point website, and you can also go and check it out there. So basically what it's saying that multi-region application client, they will connect to this multi-region access point. There will be one link like the access point, you get it here also a multi-region access point, you will get it. It will be global S3 endpoint name which will be provided to you, which will automatically route to the nearest or to a bucket which has the lowest latency. And behind the scene it use global accelerator, which is their one of the product which finds that okay, which bucket has the lowest latency, then your request will be routed to that nearest bucket and you will access the data from there, and the data will be returned or uploaded in that particular bucket. So that's how multi-region access point work behind the scene, and you get one access point, you connect to it. After that, it's AWS who does all the magic behind the scene, finds out which bucket has the lowest latency and connect you with that. So next, let's go to the console and we'll see that how that work or how we can set it up uh, in your console. Okay guys, I have logged in into my console and we'll go to S3. From services, we can go to storage and S3. And under S3, you will see a new uh, tab called multi-region access point. So let's click on that. Let's click on create multi-region access point and we can give a name test access point. After that, you have to select the buckets. So we can click on add buckets. It will list all the buckets you have. And suppose I want to create an access point for these three buckets, which is in different region, US West 1, East 1, and AP South 1. Uh, if I try to choose a bucket, two buckets in the same region, like I have one bucket in US West, if I try to choose another bucket in US West and do add bucket, it won't allow you. So in multi-region access point, you can have one bucket per region only. You cannot have two buckets in the same region. So that's one of the things you have to keep in mind when you're creating it, and it will give you alert as well. Then you can click on add buckets, and after that, like the normal bucket when you create or access point, so you can do the block public access for these, and you can enable it and play around with that based on your requirement. And then you can click on the uh, create multi-region access point. So once you click it, it takes around 2 to 3 minutes to create it. And to save time, I've already created one access point, multi-region access point, which is demo S3 MRAP -1. So this is ready, and we can see that what all features you get it when you create this access point. So on the home screen, you will see that the ARR number, you will get an alias which you can use to access this access point. And underneath, you will see what all buckets are involved in that or part of this access point. One thing to remember in this, that once you have created this access point, you cannot modify. What I mean that you cannot add any other bucket to it. So whatever bucket you have added, you have already added, but you cannot add a new bucket to it, or you cannot remove one from it. Second tab talks about permissions, so you can again play around with these. Basically, it will show you that all these buckets are blocked from public access, and you can also add a access point policy as well to it if you want to. Next is replication. So under replication right now, we haven't created any rule under it. So it will just show you a nice graph here showing that, hey, you have three buckets under this multi-region access point, and these are the location of these bucket. Underneath, you will see the replication rule, which we will create in a minute. Underneath, it will show you the replication metrics, like what are the latency you are seeing, what bytes are pending replication, and operation pending replications, all these things. So let's create a replication rule. So that basically, like I mentioned, that you right now what will happen, that whenever you try to access by using the multi-region access point, it will connect you with one of the bucket. But if you upload any object to this bucket, those data won't be replicated from one place to another place. So to do that, we have to enable the replication as well. So we will create a replication rule. We'll click on create replication rule. In that, we have two options. One, we can replicate from only from source bucket to a destination bucket, and if there's some changes happen to the destination bucket, it won't let, or it won't send the data back to it. So it will be only one-way replication. And the another is replicate objects among all specified object or buckets basically. So all the buckets will remain in sync. So you upload data in any of the bucket, it will be replicated to the other buckets as well. So you have that option as well. So we'll go through options available in both of these options and see how it works. So in any of this option, one thing you have to remember that you have to enable the bucket versioning. Right now you see that there's some dark red color that disable bucket versioning is disabled on these, and it won't let you create this replication rule until you enable this bucket versioning. And there's a reason as well behind it, that why they want you to enable the bucket versioning to avoid the lock situations, or if you have same object sitting in two buckets and at the same time two different people update those objects. So to keep in track that who updated when and what changes were they, so they want to enable, they need to have the versioning enabled, because when they replicate, all the versions will be replicated, and from there they can find it out, okay, what all changes happen to this, and then they can show it to you as well. So that's why AWS want you to make sure that bucket versioning is enabled when you create a replication rules. Next is configuration. That says that do you want to enable this replication rule right away, or you want to keep it disabled and want to enable it later on. Next one is scope. Scope is basically, it tells you that do you want to replicate all the objects under the bucket, or you want to keep only certain prefixes or folders inside your bucket you want to replicate it. And that can be useful when if you have certain scenarios like for the compliance region, you don't want to replicate certain data in a particular prefix, you don't want to replicate to some other region, so you can just remove that particular prefix, or just kind of all other data can be replicated. So for all this compliance region or regulatory region, you may want to limit the scope of your replication as well. So in this case, we'll just keep it replicate all objects. Then internally it will create an IAM role as well, so that that can be used to replicate the objects. Your data will be encrypted by Amazon S3 keys. Right now it does not support customer provided keys, maybe sometime later in future, but right now it does not. Uh, Now with the single way replication, you can also choose that you want to send the data to a different storage tier. So suppose your primary where you're uploading data is in standard, but when you're replicating, you want to put it in intelligent tiering or maybe some other storage class. So you can do that as well. But if you are using replicate object among all specified bucket, then you don't get that option. So it will be in the same storage class. In the end, you have these four options. These are the same when you create the normal replication rule as well. That replication time control, where it provide an SLA that within 15 minutes, 99.99% of the objects will be replicated. If you want to see the metrics and get some notification, this one is important, delete marker replication. So if you want to replicate your delete markers as well to other locations, then you have to choose this. It's a single click uh, feature. But many companies might have some use cases where they don't want to replicate their delete markers, and they for some good reason that if somebody by mistake deleted an object in one particular bucket, so they don't want to delete that object in the other buckets as well for the security or for whatever reason they want. So uh, choose that particular options with based on your use case, and are you okay to lose the data or not. So these are the kind of additional replication options which you have, and they are the same but you have the normal replication as well. um, so let's do one thing. Let's click on replicate object among all buckets and go through what options you have. So in this, when you choose the replicated from one source to another, you have to specify a source bucket and a destination bucket. uh, but when you click on replicated among all, so basically you have to specify at least two bucket where you want to have two-way replication. So in this case, I'm going to choose all my three buckets that I want replication should be happening among all these three buckets. Like I mentioned, the versioning should be enabled, and you can just click here enable, and it will do behind the scene for you. And what it will do, it will create 6 replication rules, like it's saying that for bucket in US West 1, it will create a replication rule that data is going from US West 1 to US East 1 and US West to AP South 1, and similarly for the other two. And you can see these rules by going to the bucket. When you open the bucket, and there as well you can see all these rules created for these buckets. Next one, I want to keep it enabled. That option is same for both of them. Scope, I want to keep it for all objects, and rest everything is, I just want to keep it default. And let's create replication rule. Is there some problem? No. Okay, so it's creating this rules, and for okay, so all the rules are created. So that's how you create all these replication rules. Next, under replication, you will see the replication summary, where you will see all the buckets, and you will see the pointers going that the replication is happening two-way, that from this bucket to this bucket and from this bucket to this bucket. And if you have more buckets, so you will see this graph more congested, and you will see all the replications happening between those buckets. uh, Down here you will see all the rules, that for this particular bucket there were two rules created. If I go to different bucket, you will see each one, so you will see what all rules are created for those buckets. So these are the replication rule you will see under S3 as well, and you can check it out from here as well. If you want to see the configuration, so you can click here, you can click on view detail about that rule. And if you want to check out sorry, so if you see the replication rules, I'm under this particular bucket. So now I need to go back to my multi-region access point and we'll go here, and you can see the replication configuration as well, and then it will take you to the particular bucket, and under that you will see the application rule, and these two rules are there. These rules are kind of the same. You can edit these rules, you can delete these rules, you can take some action, whatever you want to do. Whatever you do with the normal replication rule, it works the same way. So that's all, guys, for the multi-region access point. And if you need to access it, you will use by using this alias, uh, which behind the scene will try to find out which bucket has the lowest latency, and it will connect you with that. And after that, it's a normal uh, mapping between, or you will just directly communicating with this particular bucket. So all in all, multi-region access point is a way to find out the bucket which has the lowest latency. It just kind of does all the magic behind the scene to find out which bucket has lowest latency and will connect you with that particular bucket. You have to remember that you have to enable the versioning before you can create the replication rules. Uh, and other thing like this work with the private link as well, so you can create your VPC endpoint with this, and access these multi-region access point from your on-prem or from your other VPC by using the Amazon private link as well. So guys, that's all about the multi-region access point. Hope you liked the video and you learned something useful today. If you have any question or any comment, please feel free to put the comment, and I'll be happy to respond to that. And please subscribe and press on the bell icon so that you will get notified whenever I upload a new video. Till then, thank you so much, guys, for watching.